In the vast expanse of space, the Zorvans drifted helplessly toward their impending doom. Once a mighty and proud species, the Zorvans now faced a threat they could not escape. A massive supernova was about to engulf their home system. Their advanced technology, which had once made them seem invincible, could not save them from this cosmic catastrophe. The Zorvans had always been a complex and controversial race. Known for their technological brilliance, they had explored the galaxy and established powerful colonies. But their rise had come with a price. Over time, they had become morally detached, focusing only on their own advancement and disregarding the welfare of others. This arrogance and isolation had led to their current plight. As the supernova's fiery glow approached, the Zorvans sent out a desperate plea for help. Their communications were sent far and wide, reaching every corner of the galaxy. They reached out to old allies and even former adversaries, hoping for a glimmer of assistance. Yet their calls fell on deaf ears. Across the galaxy, other species watched the Zorvans' plight unfold with a mix of indifference and disdain. The various races of the galaxy had long viewed the Zorvans as arrogant and unworthy of help. They had seen the Zorvans as a powerful but morally bankrupt race that cared little for others. Now, seeing them in their hour of need, many simply shrugged off their pleas, believing they deserved whatever fate awaited them. On the Zorvans' homeworld, the once bustling cities were now eerily silent. Panic spread among the Zorvans as the supernova's light became more intense, casting an ominous glow over their planet. The sky, once filled with the vibrant lights of their advanced technology, now seemed to darken under the impending threat. In the midst of this chaos, a young Zorvan scientist named Lyra worked tirelessly in a research facility. She was among the few who still held onto a glimmer of hope. Lyra had spent countless hours trying to find a way to escape the supernova's reach, but every attempt had failed. As the deadline approached, she grew increasingly desperate. One day, Lyra received a message from an old ally, a distant race she had hoped would come to their aid. But the message was not one of help. Instead, it was a cold, dismissive note stating that they had their own issues and could not spare any resources. This message was not an isolated case. Every response Lyra received was either a rejection or a flat-out refusal to help. As the supernova loomed closer, the Zorvans' hope dwindled. They had always been proud and self-reliant, but their current situation exposed their vulnerability. The realization that they were alone in the universe, abandoned by all they had once considered beneath them, was a crushing blow. Lyra's despair was matched only by the growing dread that permeated the Zorvan society. With their cries for help unanswered, the Zorvans faced the harsh reality that their fate was sealed. Their final moments were a mix of fear and regret, as they reflected on their past mistakes and the isolation that had led to their downfall. In the cold void of space, the Zorvans awaited their end, unaware that their story was about to take an unexpected turn. The galaxy's indifference would soon be challenged by an unexpected force, one that had not yet shown itself in the face of their desperate plea. On Earth, the news of the Zorvans' plight spread quickly. In a sleek conference room, the leaders of Earth's United Nations gathered for an urgent meeting. The room was filled with tension as they discussed the gravity of the situation. The holographic display projected a vivid image of the approaching supernova and the Zorvans' desperate messages. Dr. Elena Carter, a prominent diplomat, stood before the assembly. She was known for her strong sense of justice and compassion. The Zorvans are in grave danger, she said, her voice firm. Despite their past actions, they are facing extinction. Shouldn't we, as a compassionate species, step in to help? A murmur of agreement swept through the room. But there were also voices of doubt. Some leaders were skeptical. The Zorvans have never been allies, said General Marcus Stone, a high-ranking military officer. They have treated other races poorly. Why should we risk our resources and lives for them? Dr. Carter's eyes locked onto General Stone. Because it's the right thing to do. We can't ignore their suffering simply because of their past. Our actions define who we are. The debate continued, with arguments for and against helping the Zorvans. On one side, there was the moral argument that helping those in need was a fundamental principle of humanity. On the other, there were concerns about the potential risks and the cost of the rescue mission. As the discussion went on, a young officer named Alex Thompson, who had recently returned from a humanitarian mission, spoke up. We've seen the consequences of ignoring suffering before. The Zorvans may have made mistakes, but they are still beings facing extinction. If we don't help, who will? Alex's words struck a chord with many in the room. The notion of turning a blind eye to the Zorvans' plight began to seem less acceptable. The leaders, influenced by the passionate arguments and the weight of their own moral responsibilities, started to shift their stance. Finally, after hours of deliberation, a decision was reached. Humanity would intervene. The room was filled with a sense of resolve and determination. Plans were set into motion to prepare a rescue mission. Scientists, engineers, and military personnel began working together to devise a strategy to reach the Zorvans and offer aid. Dr. Carter was appointed as the head of the mission. Her leadership would be crucial in navigating the complex diplomatic and logistical challenges ahead. She knew that this mission was not just about saving a species. It was about proving humanity's commitment to its values of compassion and justice. As preparations for the rescue began, a sense of unity and purpose emerged among the people of Earth. The decision to help the Zorvans became a symbol of hope and a reminder of the strength found in acting according to one's principles. The human rescue fleet, equipped with advanced technology and humanitarian aid, was soon ready to embark on its journey. The Zorvans' desperate plea had not gone unanswered. Humanity was about to step into a role that would challenge their resolve and test their values in ways they had never imagined. In the dark void of space, as the supernova's light continued to close in on the Zorvans, the arrival of the human fleet would mark the beginning of a new chapter, one of unexpected aid and potential redemption. As the human fleet prepared to launch, a flurry of activity buzzed around the spaceport. The enormous docking bays were filled with advanced starships and transport crafts, all undergoing final checks. Engineers and technicians scurried about, ensuring every component was in perfect working order. The sense of urgency was palpable. Time was running out for the Zorvans. Dr. Elena Carter stood on the command deck of the lead vessel, the Hope's Dawn. Her eyes scanned the bustling scene with a mix of anxiety and determination. The ship, a marvel of human engineering, was equipped with state-of-the-art technology designed to deal with extreme cosmic phenomena. The mission's goal was clear: to reach the Zorvans, provide immediate aid, and evacuate as many of them as possible before the supernova's deadly waves engulfed their system. The mission's team was a diverse group of experts. Captain James Mitchell, a seasoned space pilot, was in charge of navigating the fleet through the perilous journey. Beside him was Dr. Lin Zhang, an astrophysicist specializing in stellar phenomena, who would monitor the supernova and guide the team on how to avoid its worst effects. Alongside them were medical staff, engineers, and translators. Everyone had a crucial role to play in this high-stakes operation. As the countdown clock ticked closer to launch, Dr. Carter made her way through the rows of busy personnel, offering words of encouragement. She knew the mission would be risky, and there were many unknowns. But her resolve was unwavering. Remember, we are not just saving lives. We are showing the galaxy what it means to be human, she told the crew. The moment arrived. The massive engines of the Hope's Dawn roared to life, and the ship slowly lifted off from the spaceport. Behind it, the rest of the fleet followed suit, each vessel equipped with supplies, medical equipment, and advanced rescue technology. The fleet formed a tight formation, heading toward the Zorvan system with unwavering precision. As they traveled through the vast expanse of space, the crew faced numerous challenges. The route to the Zorvan system was fraught with hazards, including asteroid fields and intense radiation belts. Captain Mitchell's skill and experience were put to the test as he navigated the fleet safely through these dangers. Meanwhile, Dr. Zhang closely monitored the supernova, providing real-time updates and warnings to avoid the most dangerous areas. Communication with the Zorvans was another obstacle. The Zorvans, suspicious of the humans' intentions, had initially been hesitant to provide clear guidance on their locations and needs. The humans used advanced communication technology to establish a secure link, reassuring the Zorvans of their genuine intent to help. After several tense hours of travel, the fleet finally approached the Zorvan system. The sight that greeted them was both awe-inspiring and heartbreaking. The supernova's fiery glow illuminated the system in a stark and terrifying beauty. The Zorvan planets were visible, bathed in the eerie light of the impending disaster. The human ships moved into position, carefully coordinating their efforts. Rescue teams prepared to land on the Zorvan worlds, while others set up makeshift medical stations aboard the ships for immediate treatment. The urgency of the situation was clear. Every second counted. As the rescue operation began, Dr. Carter's heart raced. She knew that their success depended on precise execution and teamwork. The Zorvans, watching from their beleaguered worlds, finally saw the human fleet as a beacon of hope. The mission had only just begun, but already it was clear that the humans' intervention would be a turning point in their own struggle for survival. As the human rescue fleet began its operations, the situation quickly grew more complicated. The Zorvan system, though visually stunning, was fraught with hidden dangers that the humans had not fully anticipated. The supernova's radiation created intense interference, affecting their communication and navigation systems. Dr. Elena Carter, leading the operation from the Hope's dawn, was already facing her first major challenge. The fleet had to establish contact with Zorvan ground teams to coordinate the evacuation, but the supernova's radiation caused frequent blackouts in their communications. Every attempt to contact the Zorvans was met with static and intermittent signals. On the Zorvan homeworld, Zorvans were skeptical and disorganized. They were divided into factions, some of whom refused to cooperate with the humans. The faction leaders, still wary of human intentions, argued among themselves about the best course of action. The distrust was palpable, and some Zorvans even attempted to sabotage the rescue efforts, fearing that the humans might have ulterior motives. Captain James Mitchell, piloting the Hope's Dawn, navigated the fleet through the chaotic environment. The supernova's radiation created intense magnetic storms, causing the ships to experience erratic course changes and intermittent system failures. "Hold steady!" Captain Mitchell shouted as the ship lurched through another storm. His expert piloting kept the fleet on course, but the constant strain was evident on his face. Meanwhile, Dr. Lin Jiang worked tirelessly to track the supernova's shifting patterns. Her calculations were crucial for avoiding the most dangerous areas, but the intense radiation made her job extremely difficult. The Zorvan's home system was in constant flux, with solar flares and cosmic debris adding to the unpredictability. Every adjustment in their path had to be precise to ensure the safety of both the Zorvans and the rescuers. On the ground, human rescue teams encountered their own set of problems. The Zorvan cities were in chaos, with people panicking and fleeing in all directions. The humans had to quickly set up makeshift shelters and medical stations, but the lack of cooperation from some Zorvan factions made it difficult. Medical staff struggled to provide aid amidst the confusion, and the limited supplies were rapidly depleting. In one critical moment, a Zorvan faction attempted to sabotage a transport shuttle that was about to evacuate a group of civilians. Human security forces intervened, and a tense standoff ensued. Dr. Carter and her team negotiated with the faction leaders, emphasizing that the mission was solely to save lives, not to impose control. The discussions were tough, but gradually, the Zorvans began to see the sincerity in the humans' efforts. Amidst the chaos, a breakthrough occurred. A young Zorvan engineer who had been skeptical but was moved by the humans' persistence and sacrifice managed to repair a crucial communication relay. This restored clearer contact between the fleet and the Zorvans. The newfound communication allowed for better coordination, and the evacuation efforts gained momentum. Despite the mounting challenges, the human fleet pressed on. The crew's resilience and adaptability were put to the test, but they continued to overcome each obstacle. The struggle was far from over, but with each small victory, hope grew stronger. The Zorvans, witnessing the human determination and courage, began to realize that their last hope was indeed in the hands of these unexpected saviors. Just as the human rescue mission began to show signs of progress, a new and unexpected threat emerged, threatening to unravel the fragile efforts that had been painstakingly put into place. The supernova, though the initial challenge, was not the only danger facing the rescue operation. Dr. Elena Carter and her team on the Hope's Dawn had managed to stabilize communication with the Zorvans and were successfully evacuating civilians from their beleaguered world. The situation was becoming more manageable, and hope was beginning to replace despair. But then, a new alarming signal disrupted their operations. A high-frequency burst of radiation far stronger than anything previously detected swept through the system. The radiation caused immediate chaos. The communication channels went dark again, and several ships in the fleet experienced severe technical malfunctions. The Hope's Dawn shook violently as the energy waves hit, causing panic among the crew. Dr. Lin Zhang, in the midst of analyzing the supernova's patterns, was thrown off balance. "What's happening?" she shouted, her voice barely audible over the cacophony of alarms. She struggled to stabilize her equipment as the radiation wave continued to batter their sensors. Captain James Mitchell, fighting to maintain control of the Hope's Dawn, saw that the fleet was being pushed off course by the sudden surge. His face was set in grim determination as he navigated through the chaotic conditions. "We need to get a handle on this radiation," he ordered, "or we'll lose everything we've worked for." As the fleet scrambled to regain control, the source of the new threat became clear. A rogue asteroid, drawn into the system by the supernova's gravitational forces, had entered the Zorvan's orbit. This asteroid was massive, and it was on a collision course with one of the Zorvan planets that had not yet been evacuated. The asteroid's trajectory was unstable, and it was causing additional debris to scatter throughout the system. The situation was now dire. The asteroid had the potential to cause catastrophic damage to the remaining Zorvan worlds and jeopardize the entire rescue operation. Dr. Carter quickly assembled a strategy meeting with her senior officers. "We need to redirect our resources," she said. "The asteroid is our new priority. If we don't stop it, everything we've done will be for nothing." The crew on the Hope's Dawn worked rapidly to develop a plan. The radiation levels were at their highest yet, and the intensity of the solar flares was causing unprecedented interference. "We need to act fast," Dr. Zhang shouted over the comms. "The supernova is accelerating its expansion. If we don't get the remaining Zorvans out soon, they'll be caught in the explosion." Captain James Mitchell's voice crackled over the intercom. "We're experiencing increased resistance from the Zorvans on the ground. Some factions are refusing to leave, believing they can survive this on their own. We need to find a way to convince them or evacuate them forcefully if necessary." Dr. Carter knew that convincing the remaining Zorvans was a delicate task. Many were in denial or panicking, unable to grasp the full extent of the danger. She decided to take a more direct approach. "Send a team to the central Zorvan city," she ordered. "We'll broadcast a live transmission to every Zorvan on the planet. They need to see the truth for themselves." The human team quickly set up a mobile broadcasting station in the heart of the Zorvan capital. As the transmission began, the screen displayed real-time images of the supernova's destructive power and the devastation it was causing. The stark reality of the situation was undeniable. The Zorvans watched in shock and fear as their world crumbled before their eyes. The broadcast had an immediate effect. Many Zorvans, previously reluctant or defiant, now realized the gravity of their situation. They began to cooperate, and the evacuation efforts gained new momentum. However, there were still some who refused to leave their homes, clinging to the hope that they could somehow survive. Meanwhile, the Hope's Dawn and other ships in the fleet were working at full capacity. The evacuation ships made multiple trips to the Zorvan planets, each time loading up with as many refugees as possible. The crew faced mounting pressure as they navigated through increasingly violent cosmic storms caused by the supernova's turbulence. Just when it seemed like the situation couldn't get worse, a new challenge emerged. One of the evacuation ships encountered a critical failure in its propulsion system while leaving the Zorvan atmosphere. The ship was stranded, its crew and passengers in immediate danger as the supernova's effects intensified. Captain Mitchell and his team quickly organized a rescue operation. A specially equipped rescue craft was dispatched to reach the stranded ship. The operation was fraught with danger as the supernova's radiation threatened to tear the craft apart. With skill and bravery, the rescue team managed to reach the stranded ship. They performed emergency repairs and safely brought the vessel back to the fleet. The relief among the crew and passengers was palpable, but there was no time to rest. As the crisis reached its peak, the human fleet continued its relentless efforts to save as many Zorvans as possible. The combined forces of determination, courage, and compassion were all that stood between the Zorvans and total annihilation. Despite the overwhelming odds, humanity's resolve to complete their mission remained unwavering. The final moments of the supernova's wrath were both exhilarating and heartbreaking. As the last of the human evacuation ships soared away from the Zorvan system, the massive explosion of the supernova lit up the space around them with a blinding flash. The sight was both awe-inspiring and a grim reminder of the destruction that had been narrowly avoided. Dr. Elena Carter, standing on the bridge of the Hope's Dawn, watched as the Zorvan planets were engulfed in a fiery glow. She felt a mix of relief and sadness. They had managed to save countless lives, but the loss of the Zorvan homeworlds was a profound tragedy. The evacuation had been a success, but it had come at a cost. The human fleet, though intact, was exhausted. The crews had been working non-stop for days, navigating through dangerous conditions and dealing with constant technical issues. The ships themselves were battered from the harsh environment of the supernova. Dr. Lin Jiang, now able to relax slightly, was reviewing the final data on the supernova's impact. "We did it," she said, her voice reflecting the fatigue of the past few days. "We managed to get everyone out before the worst of the explosion hit. The damage is extensive, but the immediate crisis is over." Captain James Mitchell, his face lined with exhaustion, gave a nod of agreement. "We've done what we set out to do. The Zorvans are safe, and our mission was a success. But we need to focus on recovery now. The fleet needs repairs, and we must ensure the safety and well-being of the evacuees." The human fleet set a course for a nearby neutral space station, where they could begin the recovery and repair process. The station was equipped to handle large numbers of refugees and provided medical facilities to care for those in need. The Zorvans, many of whom were injured or traumatized, were received with compassion and support. As the fleet docked at the space station, teams of medical professionals and humanitarian workers sprang into action. They set up emergency medical stations, provided food and shelter, and began the process of assessing the needs of the Zorvan refugees. The human crews worked side by side with the Zorvans, helping to ensure a smooth transition. Dr. Carter, while coordinating the relief efforts, took a moment to reflect on the journey. The Zorvans had been a forgotten and struggling species, left to face certain doom alone. But humanity's intervention had made a profound difference. The rescue mission had demonstrated not just the strength of human technology, but also the strength of human compassion. In the days that followed, the Zorvans began to recover. They expressed their profound gratitude to the humans, and bonds of friendship started to form. The Zorvan leaders, once distrustful, now recognized the bravery and dedication of their rescuers. Diplomatic discussions began, focusing on how to rebuild and foster cooperation between their species. Captain Mitchell, addressing the crew in a final meeting, spoke with a sense of pride. "We faced overwhelming odds, and we came through. We saved lives, and we've made a lasting impact. This mission was a testament to what humanity can achieve when we work together." Dr. Carter and her team felt a deep sense of accomplishment. They had faced incredible challenges, but they had also demonstrated the best of what humanity could offer. As they prepared to return to Earth, they knew that the mission had changed the lives of many and had paved the way for new alliances and friendships. The crisis had reached its peak, but humanity's spirit had triumphed. The journey was far from over, but the victory and recovery marked a new beginning for both the Zorvans and their human saviors. As the Zorvans began to settle into their new lives at the space station, the dynamics between them and their human rescuers started to shift. The initial relief and gratitude were giving way to a more complex interaction as both species navigated their new reality. Dr. Elena Carter watched the transformation with keen interest. The Zorvans, once completely dependent on the humans, were now starting to show their own strengths and capabilities. They had been through a lot, but they were resilient. Their engineers began helping the human crews with repairs, and their scientists offered insights into new technologies. One morning, Dr. Carter and Captain James Mitchell attended a meeting with Zorvan leaders. The discussions were tense but hopeful. The Zorvans expressed a desire for more than just aid. They wanted to collaborate and contribute to rebuilding efforts. They offered their advanced knowledge of energy systems, which could help improve human technology. "This is a unique opportunity," Dr. Carter said, addressing the human team. "The Zorvans have expertise that could greatly benefit us. We need to consider how we can integrate their technology with ours." Captain Mitchell nodded. "Agreed, but we must be cautious. Trust is still being built, and we need to ensure that our cooperation is mutual and respectful." As the days passed, joint projects between humans and Zorvans began to flourish. The once struggling refugees were now active participants in technological and diplomatic exchanges. Zorvan engineers worked alongside human technicians to repair the fleet's damaged systems, while human scientists learned from Zorvan innovations in energy efficiency. However, not all interactions were smooth. There were still factions within the Zorvans who were wary of humans, and some human crew members were uneasy about the new dynamics. Small conflicts arose, and misunderstandings sometimes led to friction. One incident occurred when a Zorvan engineer accidentally damaged a crucial piece of human equipment. The error caused a minor setback and tensions flared. The situation was quickly diffused by Dr. Carter, who mediated between the two sides. "We need to remember why we're here," she said firmly. "We're working together to rebuild and move forward. Mistakes happen, but we must learn and grow from them." Gradually, the cooperation between the species began to bear fruit. The combined efforts led to significant advancements. The Zorvans and humans developed new technologies that neither could have achieved alone. Energy systems were optimized, and new materials were discovered that improved both their societies. One evening, Dr. Carter and Captain Mitchell attended a celebratory event marking the successful completion of a major joint project. The atmosphere was vibrant and hopeful. Zorvans and humans mingled, sharing stories and ideas. The event symbolized the growing bond between the two species. Dr. Carter looked around and felt a sense of pride. "We've come a long way," she said to Captain Mitchell. "From a crisis to a new era of cooperation." Captain Mitchell agreed, smiling. "Indeed, the dynamics have changed and the future looks promising. We've turned a dire situation into an opportunity for mutual growth and understanding." The changing dynamics were not without their challenges, but the progress was undeniable. The collaboration between Zorvans and humans marked a new chapter in their relationship. As they continued to work together, both species began to see the value in their newfound partnership. The crisis that had once threatened to destroy them had become the catalyst for a new alliance and a brighter future. With the immediate crisis over, the Zorvans and humans began to adjust to their new reality. The space station, now a bustling hub of activity, had become a symbol of hope and cooperation. The Zorvans, once wary of their human saviors, were starting to see them in a new light. Dr. Elena Carter, while overseeing the ongoing aid efforts, noticed a shift in the dynamics between the two species. The initial gratitude from the Zorvans had evolved into a deeper, more nuanced relationship. Many Zorvans, who had been silent or reserved during the early days of their evacuation, were now actively engaging with the humans. In the communal areas of the space station, Zorvans and humans mingled, sharing stories and experiences. The exchange was more than just polite conversation. It was a genuine effort to understand and learn from each other. Zorvan children, who had been frightened and confused, played with human children, their laughter bridging the gap between their cultures. Captain James Mitchell observed these interactions with satisfaction. He had seen the initial distrust and tension, but now there was a sense of camaraderie. He met with Zorvan leaders to discuss the future and explore possibilities for collaboration. "It's clear that our actions have changed the way we see each other," he said during one of the meetings. "We need to build on this newfound trust." One of the major changes was the formation of a joint council. The council was made up of representatives from both species and was tasked with planning for the future. They discussed everything from rebuilding Zorvan communities to establishing trade and cultural exchanges. The goal was to create a partnership that would benefit both sides and ensure a stable and prosperous future. Dr. Lin Zhang played a key role in these discussions, using her scientific expertise to help the Zorvans adapt to their new circumstances. She worked on projects to help them recover from the environmental damage caused by the supernova. Her dedication was appreciated by the Zorvans, who saw her not just as a rescuer, but as a friend. Despite the progress, challenges remained. The Zorvans had to adjust to a new way of life, and there were still cultural differences and misunderstandings to overcome. The Joint Council worked hard to address these issues, organizing workshops and events to promote understanding and cooperation. Dr. Carter, reflecting on the journey, felt a sense of pride. The mission had not only saved lives, but had also paved the way for a new era of interspecies relations. The changing dynamics were a testament to the resilience and adaptability of both humans and Zorvans. The initial crisis had led to a deeper connection and a shared vision for the future. As the space station continued to serve as a beacon of hope, The humans and Zorvans looked forward to a future where their partnership would thrive. The changing dynamics were a sign of progress and a promise of what could be achieved when different worlds came together. Months after the supernova crisis, the space station had become a thriving center of cooperation and innovation. The initial relief efforts had evolved into a lasting partnership between humans and Zorvans. Both species were working together to build a new future, one marked by collaboration and mutual respect. Dr. Elena Carter, now leading a joint human-Zorvan research team, looked out at the bustling space station with a sense of accomplishment. The once struggling Zorvans had not only recovered but were now contributing their own knowledge and skills to various projects. The research team was working on advanced technologies that combined human ingenuity with Zorvan innovation, aiming to tackle challenges and explore new frontiers. Captain James Mitchell, now serving as a liaison between the two species, was involved in diplomatic efforts to formalize their alliance. The partnership was taking shape, with both sides agreeing on treaties that would govern trade, defense, and cultural exchange. The new agreements marked the beginning of a prosperous era for both species. One of the most significant developments was the creation of the Zorvan Reconstruction Initiative, ZRI. The initiative focused on rebuilding Zorvan homeworlds and restoring their ecosystems. Human engineers and Zorvan scientists worked side by side, sharing their expertise to rehabilitate the planets and create sustainable environments. The effort was monumental, but the progress was visible. Greenery began to reclaim the damaged landscapes, and Zorvan cities started to take shape once more. In addition to the technological and environmental achievements, cultural exchanges flourished. Art, music, and traditions from both species were shared and celebrated. Festivals that combined human and Zorvan customs became popular, and these events helped deepen the bond between the two worlds. Human and Zorvan children grew up learning about each other's cultures, fostering a sense of unity and understanding from a young age. Dr. Lin Zhang, who had become a key figure in scientific diplomacy, reflected on the impact of their work. "We've built something extraordinary," she said during a joint conference. "This partnership isn't just about surviving a crisis. It's about thriving together and creating a better future." As the years passed, the alliance between humans and Zorvans became a model for interspecies cooperation. The space station, once a symbol of rescue and relief, now stood as a monument to what could be achieved when two worlds came together with a common purpose. Dr. Carter, Captain Mitchell, and their teams looked back on their journey with pride. They had faced incredible challenges and overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles. Their efforts had transformed a crisis into an opportunity for growth and unity. In this new era, humanity and the Zorvans looked forward to a future filled with promise and possibilities. The partnership was not just about surviving, but about thriving together, exploring new frontiers, and building a legacy of cooperation and mutual respect. The story of their alliance was a testament to the power of coming together in the face of adversity and forging a brighter future.